The Apple Watch Series 6 promises to be one of the best smartwatches of 2020 with tons of great features on board, but just taking a second to look at it, you'll notice that it's almost indistinguishable from just about every Apple Watch ever made. In fact, it's practically the same dimensions as the Apple Watch Series 4, 5, and SE, which leads me to ask the question, being that this watch starts at around $400 and easily goes over $700, why would somebody be buying a watch that costs more than most phones on the market? Well, after wearing this watch for a couple days, I believe Apple's answer to that question would be health and continuity. And I'll talk about what that means later on in the video, but I want to start off with just a physical tour of this device to show you guys what we're dealing with here, assuming you don't already have an Apple Watch 5, because physically it's going to be really similar to the Apple Watch 5. But just bear with me, assuming you've never had an Apple Watch, you can see on the front we have really small bezels and obviously a rectangular screen. The display overall is an excellent display. It's one of the best in the smartwatch industry right now, which for this price point, it better be. There is a 40 and 44 millimeter version of this watch. This one right here is the 44 millimeter. It's actually the LTE version as well. And if you've been on Apple's website, you'll see there are tons of different variations, different materials, different colors, in those two different sizes to give you pretty much any Apple Watch configuration you could ever imagine. And then on the right side, we have a rotating crown on the top, which is also a button, which is also an ECG monitor. So good job on Apple for making that multiple things. And then below that, we have another button. I'll show you what these do later on in the video. And in the middle, we have our microphone. Now on the left side, we have a speaker, which I will test out later on in the video, but that should be allowing you to talk to Siri or answer phone calls and do a lot of things like that. And then if we flip the watch over, you'll see the entire array of health tracking hardware Apple added on here. And I'll talk about what these actually are able to do because, like I said, this is kind of the big direction Apple's pushing wearables or watches in particular, is to be able to track your health in so many different regards, from ECG to heart rate to blood oxygen and just everything like that. And flipping back to the front of this watch, you'll notice that not only is it a very large display with thin bezels that are actually really hard to even detect with this watch, but it also has tons of different watch faces. One of the best things about the Apple Watch is actually being able to choose from so many different watch faces and also being able to customize them. Of all the watches I've ever tried, I would say the Apple Watch faces are probably the best. And with the always-on display, it really completes the package, giving you a pretty solid watch to wear on a day-to-day basis. And then inside this watch, we actually have NFC for Apple Pay. We have Bluetooth to connect to your phone or to connect to earbuds or headphones when you're going for a run. If you want to leave your phone at home and just listen to music directly from your watch, you can definitely do that. We have GPS, we have heart rate. This model has LTE, and of course we also have Wi-Fi as well. So there's a lot going on with this watch. Oh, and actually the last thing, this is also water resistant up to 50 meters, which is great. It means if you're swimming, showering, washing your hands, whatever you're doing, you'll have no problem with this watch taking on any damage as long as you're not like scuba diving. Okay, now I'm going to test out the accuracy of a bunch of these in a second, but I mentioned that one of the big focuses of this watch was going to be the health tracking. So health tracking kind of splits into a couple different aspects. So one of them is going to be if you're older and you're more worried about your day-to-day health when you're not doing anything, you're worried about things going wrong, then this has some great features from ECG to heart rate notifications if your heart rate's too low or too high, stuff like that is definitely really good. Now the second thing is going to be if you work out a lot and you want analytics on your workouts, then obviously the GPS and the heart rate and the blood oxygen data will be very useful to you. And then thirdly, if you don't work out enough, but you're not necessarily worried about your health yet, then this watch is going to be a great way to incentivize you to work out more. Being that you have an expensive piece of hardware on your wrist, it gives you notifications, it kind of gamifies it, it shares it with your friends if you want to, and just makes it more likely for you to go and work out and become active and develop healthy habits. And so while a lot of the other watches could do that, they actually added some features on here. So just going through a lot of the health features that they have on here, the first one is blood oxygen. That's a very exciting one, being an indicator of your general fitness. We also have sleep tracking. We have an ECG, which again, that kind of goes into the first category I mentioned of people worried about their health. If you're worried about some AFib problems, you can do that. You can check that with this watch. You have heart rate on here, of course, GPS, auto workout detection, which from my testing, I think that kind of needs a little bit of work. Like it does a good job detecting when I'm on a workout, but I just wish it was a little bit smoother with automatically starting and stopping the workouts. I felt like I was a little bit more involved with that process. Now, it also has an always-on altimeter. You have Fitness Plus integration. So the new Apple thing is Fitness Plus, where you have workouts that you can stream on your phone or your iPad or whatever device you want. You have female period tracking on here, breathing exercises, fall detection, and you have an SOS feature as well. So just a lot of health features on here. And with that being said, let's actually get into some testing that I did for my previous workouts with this watch to see how accurate the heart rate and the GPS and the sleep tracking actually are. So to talk about the accuracy, I want to take a look at a recent workout I did, and if we scroll down and look at GPS first of all, you'll see in the big picture it did a pretty good job. It showed me where I ran and how fast I ran in each location. But as we zoom in, you can see there's a little bit of variation here. I ran on the same sidewalk both ways, so I'd say the variability on this is probably within 2%. So overall, very accurate for most runners, and I was definitely very impressed with the GPS. So looking at the accuracy of the heart rate data, you can see right here the Apple Watch on this side and a known accurate Garmin watch over here. And for the most part, the workouts looked extremely similar. Obviously, Apple's displaying their graphs slightly different here, but for the whole back half of the workout, they looked really similar. They have the same maximum, and the only difference was the average in the heart rate. I believe because there are some missing data there and there, as you see on the Apple Watch in the beginning, and I believe the reason for that is because the Apple Watch is pretty heavy, and if you don't have it located properly on your wrist, it'll end up not reading data in certain parts of your workout. But overall, I was very impressed with the accuracy of both the GPS and the heart rate of the Apple Watch 6. And now taking a quick look at the interface for anybody who never had an Apple Watch before, if we swipe up from the watch face, you have your quick settings there. If we swipe over this way, you just go through some different watch faces that we have. We can also tap and hold and go to the different ones there. Swiping down from the top gives me my notifications, and then swiping over this way, like I said, is going to give you the different watch faces. Now, if we press the crown, it gives us our entire app drawer, all the different apps we can get on here, and if we scroll backwards or forward on that, it zooms in and out, and pressing it brings us back to home. Now, pressing the bottom button here gives us kind of all the apps that we have open, so we can switch between them, or, like I said, you can just quickly go into your app drawer. But overall, it's a really robust operating system. Everything's easy to find, and I really like using it.
So getting into a quick speaker test, this is what it sounds like if you're answering a phone call on the Apple Watch. I'm just on another phone right now talking at a normal volume, so comment down below. Let me know what you think of the speakers on the Apple Watch and if you can hear what I'm saying. Alright, now this is what the Apple Watch sounds like if you were just on a phone call and holding the watch at a normal distance away. Talking at a pretty normal volume, comment down below. Let me know if you can hear what I'm saying and what you think the overall quality of this microphone is.
All right, so clearly there's a lot going on with this watch. It's basically a smartphone on your wrist, but let's actually get into the pros and cons of this watch. I talked earlier about the health features being one of the main focuses of this watch and one of the main pros of this watch, but the other one that I didn't really talk as much about was actually the continuity. So that's what this watch is, I think, the other focus of it, and that's kind of the focus of Apple ecosystem in general, and this one just ties things together really well. You can also do some really cool things like automatically unlock your Mac when you get nearby if you're wearing your watch. So with an extremely powerful chipset on here and a great operating system, you feel like you're very connected to your phone and everything else that you want to be without really depending on it. So I can leave my phone in my pocket and answer phone calls from my watch. I can see who texted me and just decide I don't need to reply to that right now. And I find that when I'm wearing this watch, I tend to take my phone out of my pocket less, which is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I think it depends on your lifestyle. If you're trying to be more efficient, I think that it could be really good as long as you're not prone to distractions. Now, some other pros, you have tons of apps to choose from. Like I said, you have pretty much the best watch operating system in the game, and I've tried quite a few different watch operating systems. Now, of course, this watch is not perfect, and there are some complaints I have. The first one is the battery life, and this is something we've seen with a lot of other Apple Watches as well. So, I mean, there's tons of other watches on the market that have 5-day, 7-day, 30-day battery lives. Like, some watches last a really long time. This one, you're gonna be charging it every day, maybe every other day if you're lucky. And it just depends on how much you're using it, but you're gonna be charging it pretty frequently. And being that you have sleep tracking, you're gonna have to find some time here and there to just kind of quickly charge it sometime during the day. This watch also doesn't have offline Spotify. Yes, Apple Music goes offline, but Spotify is what I use, and Spotify is what a lot of people use out there. So I really wish they would kind of integrate offline Spotify in here so you don't just have it on Samsung and Garmin watches. The next complaint I have is actually the price of this watch. Not everyone can come up with $500 or $600 for a watch, which is why Apple also released the Apple Watch SE, and I will be comparing this head-to-head with the Apple Watch SE. If you want to see that, go down and click the subscribe button, click the bell icon so you don't miss that video coming out in the next couple days. And then, of course, the last complaint I have is even though this watch looks really nice and it does some great things, I think the overall aesthetic is a little bit plain. If I was going to wear a suit or if I was going to just dress up for work or something, I mean, I think it's a little bit plain. There's a lot of other ones like the Fossil Gen 5, for example, that just look a lot better. And so I kind of wish Apple would start adopting some rounder watches or some just different designs besides just the same sporty look on every single watch. So guys, in conclusion, how much would you pay for a smartwatch? I mean, comment down below. I have some other really interesting videos that I'll be making about what you can really do with this watch. But who is this watch really for? I think it's going to be for anybody looking for the best everyday smartwatch you can buy in 2020. If you have an iPhone, of course, it's a really strong competitor because it has so many great features on there. It's great for fitness tracking. It's great for just so many different things. And then who is this watch not for? It's not going to be great for anybody looking to go off the grid. If you're going on like a 10-day backpacking trip, this watch is going to die right away and you're going to have a dead piece of hardware for almost your entire trip. Also, anybody looking to dress up very formally, this watch again is not necessarily my favorite look. You might be more interested in maybe a hybrid watch, for example. And of course, if you're on a budget, again, this is definitely not the watch for you. Maybe the Apple Watch SE would be a better pick. But comment down below, let me know what you guys think of the Apple Watch Series 6. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.